Steroids are so safe that you can be a walking pharmacy for 20 years and you won't pay the piper for another 15 years after that. What is up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's ASMR sip is some Fiji water with the nipple attachment. ASMR spritz, intelligent neon. You gotta buy it to smell it. There's your noises. Google Ryan Russo, Linktree. Like, subscribe with the bell if you're new, and write a comment with 5 words or more for the algorithm. Today, we are reacting to a mainstream YouTuber. So this is a YouTuber Andrew picked by the Shadow producers, and he has amassed 6.5 million subscribers. His name is Jeremy Ethier, and the title of this video is What Happens After 30 Days of Taking Steroids. So as the underground lab rat Russo, seeing this video on a channel this big is very interesting because there's a lot of very popular biohackers, and I think, like, again, NPMD is at the top of the heap, and I get pretty disappointed that NPMD doesn't have the little medical license. I'll have Andrew throw the little medical license that some of those doctors get, meaning that his views are skewed stupidly as far as the algorithm because he doesn't carry that on his YouTube channel. This guy's way more subscribers and is just taking steroids, it seems like, on camera, and I wanted to see how this video was done as far as the paradigms presented, and I'm going to be weighing in my opinion. So let's see what this video is all about.
What would happen if I took steroids for 30 days? I'm a lifetime natty, but nowadays it seems like so many athletes, actors, and even social media influencers are hopping on the juice. It got me thinking, how serious are the side effects? What does that first 30 days on juice feel like? And how much progress?
Andrew, I expect all my videos to be edited like this moving forward. I need VFX every 5 seconds.
Could I make? I wanted to speak to people with first-hand experience. The conversations I had were not only eye-opening, but they led me to a decision I never thought I would make. First, I reached out to a vet.
See, I wouldn't even be comfortable showing a vial or needle on my channel, but this dude's just 6 million subs.
To show me the ropes. Jaws. Jaws is one of the world's top bodybuilders, finishing in the top 25 as a Mr. Olympia competitor.
Grab the wrist, yeah.
And as he coached me through one of his posing routines, it was easy to see why he's one of the best in the world. Does your mom know you're taking steroids?
She's called me out on it. I've never admitted it.
Really?
No.
Andrew, imagine being a Olympian classic physique and you can't admit that you put gear in your ass to your mom. That, like, is this just for the video, or is he being real?
So she doesn't know?
No, she doesn't know that
she doesn't know. Crazy.
She's never gotten me to admit it. I'm like, no, mom, everything's natural, just creatine.
Jaws won his first competition as a natural back in 2014. But once he started competing on stage against enhanced bodybuilders, the decision to take steroids was essentially a must if he wanted to.
I already made a video discussing how competing naturally is stupid. I'll link it up there. If you're a completely natural person competing, I would highly suggest you watch that video for my paradigms on what I think of natural bodybuilding. As far as competing, I'm not talking about like just being a fit natural bodybuilder. I'm talking about getting to obnoxiously low body fats and how that impacts the endocrine system as a complete natural. Like, in my opinion, if you're gonna continue the competition path, you need the androgens in there. Otherwise, the yo-yoing of your hormones going sub 6% really starts to take an impact.
To keep advancing. First day, you had it in your hands and you're about to inject yourself. Walking me through, like, what was going through you.
Nerves. I didn't even want to poke myself, to be honest, because I was like, the needle's in my hand. I'm like, it was on my glute right here, so I was like shaking. So I didn't want to poke my butt with a quivering hand. So I actually asked my girlfriend at the time to do it for me.
I actually relate to this. You know, your first injection is very, like, you get to break that, like, hurt myself, stab myself thing. So I just jabbed it, but I could see why he had his girl do the first pin.
While today Jaws takes a
Again, more pics of this gear straight on a 6 million sub channel with the UGL being dropped.
variety of PEDs for competitions, he started out with the
This
hormone
dude's just flexing his gear. Like, he's got bags, like... There has to be some sort of litigation or something where we know finitely what I can do on my channel, so I'm not Thanos Snap the next day where this 6 million sub Natty gets to show this video. That's like why I'm reacting. I don't understand.
But injecting yourself with more than your body could ever produce naturally can lead to some pretty insane results. One study took 43 men and divided them into 2 groups. Each week, the guys were given either 6 even before they told me how it was helping them in the gym.
Strength-wise, I think it was like 2.5 weeks in, 3 weeks, I started noticing some strength increases. And then as we progressed into the cycle, that's when we were like, yeah, I just threw weights that I didn't know I could throw. I would show up to the gym and I was like, what, shoulder pressing like 65, 70 pounds before. I would show up one day, never even tried. I was like, let's just do 100, 110. Let's just do it. Let's just do it.
Once the 4th week hit, all of a sudden it went just like I hit like knock.
The 4th week is when the enanthate ester actually starts working. So that's a funny thing that, again, the teenagers, Andrew, they'll inject test for a week. Oh, it's bunk. It's like, yeah, it takes 4 weeks to fully kick in. So at least Jaws knows how it is.
Awesome. My strength just skyrocketed. Like, I started to like jump in my numbers with my lifts. I was like leaping up in my numbers and progressive overload way quicker than I was before.
Now, as for actual muscle growth, I looked into it, and according to the research, natural lifters can gain anywhere from 20 to 40 pounds of muscle in their lifetime. But for guys on gear, it goes up to a whopping 45 to 120 pounds. Now, personally, I've gained a total of around 30 pounds of muscle ever since I started.
I'm just judging this guy's noble natty physique. I personally, I don't know this guy. I haven't watched anything besides this video, honestly. And to me, it looks like his compound movement strength isn't where it could be as a complete noble natty. You know, the only way you would, in my opinion, build crazy stage weight, and this is from me researching competitive natural bodybuilding and seeing what the top natural bodybuilders do. Like, if you're neglecting squat, bench, deadlift volume, not like little heavyweight for like a couple reps. I'm talking like 405 for sets of volume, you know, deadlifting over 500 for sets of volume. Judging this guy's physique, I don't think he's personally doing that. I don't think he's ever done a growth phase as a complete natural where he's pushing the compound movement volume that crazy while feeding the body and then holding the compound movement volume and cutting down. Sarcoplasmic training does not work as good for complete naturals as it does for enhanced people, obviously, because your AR always being overstimulated on steroids. The only way you're going to overstimulate your AR as a natural would be combat training, putting the system in fight or flight, causing the AR to overload through powerlifting. And it's like, if you're not going to respect natural powerlifting and carry that volume back to bodybuilding, I don't think you ever achieve the true natural physique you could achieve. And that's after me looking at what the individuals with the heaviest natural stage weights that I personally think are natural are training like. If you're a natty and you still haven't gotten to like squatting 405 for sets of 10, completely natty, then that volume would transfer when you cut if you maintained it. That's how you would hold that tissue, is by building that amount of strength base. Build the bottom of the pyramid before you go up.
Working out, and the muscle building process has only gotten slower. I'm lucky if I can gain even just a couple of pounds of muscle in a single year.
Looking at this physique, no hate to this guy can do whatever he wants. Like, he obviously trains very hard. I can tell he's natural. Does it look like he ever just got fluffy, started powerlifting in a sense of building crazy strength volume, and then carry that strength volume into a cut? No, it looks like this guy maintained an incredible natural physique for clout and views, but did he ever become, you know, Fluffy the Bloat Lord and put the time in the squat rack and then cut back down? That would be the way he continues progressing naturally.
But how would this change if I hopped on the juice?
I would say, like, if you are enhanced, you can probably put on around like 10 to 20 pounds of tissue in your first year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think that's very misleading, saying 10 to 20 pounds. Maybe with him being Jaws, the genetic elite, that's possible. But again, most people are going to gain 10 to 40 pounds, and it's nitrogen retention, intracellular water weight. It's not all keepable tissue. 10 to 20 pounds of tissue or 10 to 20 pounds of weight is easy to gain. You know, it's one of those things.
After posing next to Jaws in the mirror and thinking about the possibility of being able to gain 10 to 20 pounds of muscle in a single year, it's tempting. But if I was about to throw away my Natty card for life, there was just one more question I need.
I just think it's crazy, Andrew, with the Natty card. Like, you know, me and you are kind of conspiracy theorists. We know all the hormone games of this environment being played. Like, is anyone really Natty anymore?
Needed Jaws to answer. How has the size of your testes changed?
I mean, if you Google search it, it's pretty, it's out there. Like everyone knows, your testes shrinks. Your penis does not, though.
Okay, the penis does not.
Penis stays the same. So they have the wrong idea. Like, you know, the penis doesn't shrink. If anything, it looks bigger because your testes are a little smaller.
Well, I mean, you inject steroids, higher DHT would be better erections. I'll have Andrew throw the Togi clip in here. Like everyone's talking about the nut shrinking, where, let's be real here with education, there are serious side effects of steroids. We're going to get into them later in this video. The nut shrinking can be completely harm mitigated and offset by injecting LH mimetics or follicle stimulating hormone mimetics. LH being HCG, FSH being HMG or RFSH. It's just one of those things where, again, this is a deterrent. Oh, your nuts shrink. No, let's be real. Let's talk about the real problems. Left ventricular hypertrophy, having this cholesterol in a horrible skew all the time, the kidney strain, the blood pressure strain, the liver issues, the overall skin sebum production changing, the neurochemistry changes. These are all serious side effects. The nut shrinking, that can easily be offset. Can you offset left ventricular hypertrophy? Probably not.
Yeah, the testes do shrink, and it is very noticeable. It's like almost like it goes to like
So like this, and then
and it's like peanuts.
Really?
Again, I've really been trying to put this information out there. You got to be spending money on HCG and HMG. We have an Olympian classic physique competitor talking about his nuts going to raisins. Why are they going to raisins? You should be constantly maintaining the brain testicle connection. So if you ever get off, it's easier to get off. And or if you want to have a kid, it's easier to restart that fertility, right? It's like this guy's taking all these drugs all the time. Why is HCG and HMG not in there? I get it's a deterrent, to, scoop people away, but there are plenty of other deterrents, left ventricular hypertrophy, that, are real serious things that can't be offset. But acute testicle shrinkage with the science experiment this guy already is, that can be completely offset. I have gorilla nuts sitting here on steroids. I use HCG.
Yeah, and like
That's
small.
As for why this happens, when you take an exogenous hormone like testosterone, your body essentially thinks, hey, I don't need to produce this anymore.
Hey, I don't need to produce this anymore, so I cut off LH and FSH, so the testicles shrink. But to harm mitigate this, I just add an HCG and add an HMG.
You're telling your brain that it's already getting what it needs from this external source. And for guys, since testosterone is primarily producing the testes, well, they sort of just shrivel up because they're no longer needed. But this can create bigger complications.
And then all of a sudden you hop off that test, and it's like that production, no matter what you do, no matter what kind of compounds you take to bring back the production of it, no matter how well you are optimizing your sleep, your stress, it doesn't change. And that's when, you're kind of bound to taking TRT.
And for Jaws,
Completely disagree with that. Bound to taking TRT. Sure, snake eyes happens when you roll a dice. Most people can get off TRT. Let's be real. Most people can get off TRT. I've seen people do a pharmacy fucking blast. After the show, cold turkey, their testosterone comes back. I've seen other people, their testicles are shrank. They want to come off. They want to have kids. They're done with bodybuilding. They're done with the image disorders. They just want to be natural again. They want to rely on their nutsack. A year later, they recover. It's a year of brutal struggling, but they recover. The body adapted back. Triptrelin. I'll have Andrew throw up the triptrelin video. Triptrelin is a drug that restarts the HBTA. There are multiple drugs that successfully restart the HBTA. It is completely possible to recover your natural testosterone. This was very much a battled debate, and it's publicly been more like, okay, yeah, it is possible to completely get off. Will you want to get off? Will you enjoy the neurological benefits of getting off? No. No. You'll always be addicted to the high of those heightened neurological senses, which again, I said earlier in the video, if you're powerlifting, activating tons of skeletal AR, if you're sprinting, activating tons of skeletal AR, or you're doing some sort of fighting and sparring and live combat, activating tons of skeletal AR. That is the high you're chasing naturally when you have steroids hyperactivating skeletal AR all the time, years on end. So it is possible to completely walk away. Are you most likely a slave to the needle? Yes, but we do need to specify it is possible to walk away.
This led to some complications.
I didn't notice ED issues, so like erectile dysfunction. Yeah. Getting a little personal with it, but yeah, it was hard for me to get it up, to be honest. And then it took some time to like get my hormones back to normal levels.
Yeah, this is where I started to get worried. For one, I didn't like the idea of being dependent on testosterone and injecting myself with a needle for the rest of my life. And as I found out from
again, it's crazy you can show these needle shots and everything. I can't fathom being able to be completely uncensored like he is.
I meant, not every change that comes from taking testosterone is positive.
At the gym, buddy bumped into me and I completely flipped the switch. I was just like, watch where you're going, man, like out loud. And I didn't realize that when it came out of my mouth, but it was a very aggressive tone.
At this point,
again, I will weigh in opposite again. I think everyone knows I'm a bit bipolar over here, and testosterone helps my bipolar. I'm more relaxed, more calm, honestly. I wouldn't make that up. Now, if I take Tren or something, sure, my mood's heightened, it's crappier. But if this guy is saying, oh, I just flipped the switch on TRT, I'd be like, no, you didn't. Like, TRT didn't make me feel any different. It made me feel honestly calmer. So if there's a guy struggling with anxiety or something and has low testosterone, thinks he's going to become this raging roid head going on to TRT, no, you're probably going to feel calmer, more relaxed, you know, just being honest. Now, if you add in Tren or more androgenic compounds, yeah, the roid rage makes sense, but TRT, you're not going to be flipping the switch on TRT. I'm going to be honest. It just like amplifies who you are. If you've never had an ego before in your life and you inject some testing, get an ego, maybe, but most likely TRT is not going to impact you in that way. I'm just being honest.
My decision wasn't looking nearly as clear-cut as it used to. But what about all the actors and social media influencers on juice? Surely not everyone who takes steroids runs into these problems, right? Especially if they're just using them for a short period of time. Well, I wanted to learn more about the risks from an expert. Luckily for me, there was no better person than steroids coach and educator John Jewett of J3 University.
So a lot of guys are worried about short-term side effects when you're young, right? You're going to worry about your hair or testicular shrinkage or acne. But the true dangers that I would be worried about, and that should always be in the back of your mind, are the long-term effects of steroid use.
Completely agree. This is a harm mitigation game of offsetting damage. Steroids are fucking safe. You can abuse shit tons of steroids and get away with it. Other drugs, you're done. That's the thing. Steroids are so safe that you can be a walking pharmacy for 20 years and you won't pay the piper for another 15 years after that. But if we're on top of everything, we can start to catch the things going wrong, harm mitigate, see genetic predispositions, and begin combating, steering you away, or reassuring you that as far as everything we can test, you seem to be tolerating it fine. The acute side effects are not that bad in my opinion. The long-term stuff, especially left ventricular hypertrophy, the sleep apnea, the blood pressure, the silent killers, those are what you gotta watch out for.
Which are absolutely very much pertinent, even in short-term use.
Talking to John, he explained that while many people make the mistakes of taking the wrong types of steroids or the wrong dosages, even if you're careful to do everything right, there's still a chance you won't see the results you're hoping for.
I've had guys that, man, they take a little bit and they get every single side effect. And then you have other guys that are using a bunch of steroids and they barely see any health deleterious effects. Genetics determines everything. It's why I'm not Michael Jordan in playing basketball, right? There was an interesting study injecting 500 milligrams of testosterone in these different subjects, and some of the guys had testosterone levels that would triple.
My first scare, because obviously Dr.
Other guy,
bad reaction to steroids, the side effects can become life-threatening.
I was on vacation one time, And for the first time, I felt like my chest area was hurting. That was my first scare. Because obviously Dr. Google says when you search online and a chest pain out of nowhere, you're probably gonna die. I literally propped my iPhone up just to show some light on my chest, and I could see my heart pumping out of my chest.
We see a lot of early deaths from are from heart. I've had some like close, like pro bodybuilding friends that have passed away, and indirectly related, right? Heart.
Indirectly, directly related. You're adding an exogenous androgen that's fucking throttling the heart. Indirect or direct? Direct. Can this be spotted? Most of the time, yeah.
Heart failure issues, very young, and probably a degree of being naive of what they were doing. And that led to like, yeah, early deaths, like in 20s and early 30s. And it's, it can happen.
The most scary thing was what I think the doctor called it tachycardia. So which was my heartbeat was not regular.
Yeah.
I had to get a lot of ECG exams. I had get a lot of like ultrasounds as well, chest x-rays to make sure everything's looking good. The most thing we're scared of was an enlarged heart.
Sure, what all these steroids do, their main thing is that androgen binds to an androgen receptor. And what does that androgen receptor do? It builds muscle or prevents muscle breakdown. But you don't just have androgen receptors in muscle, you have them on the heart, you have them on kidneys, you have them in the brain. So they influence all these other tissues as well.
Just because your favorite influencer is using it and he looks okay, doesn't mean that you're going to have the same experience as he does. And who knows what he's also going through privately behind the closed doors.
Jaws is right. And trust me, the people who come to me in the background, the high following count, there's sometimes some issues that need sorted, and they are asking the biohackers opinions, all of us. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
For guys like Jaws, this wasn't just about looking good on the beach. Bodybuilding is his passion. And in his world, the line between a winning physique and long-term health issues is incredibly thin.
Honestly, when you want something, man, you're just willing to do whatever risk it takes, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to do it for too long. That's the thing. I recommend no one actually to ever touch PEDs. I personally, as a bodybuilder, I don't recommend people touch it unless there's a reason for it.
If you're not planning to compete, that extra bit of muscle, I just really don't see that being worth that extra risk. Having that extra 5 pounds of muscle, no one cares. You know, no one cares about that.
The Natty has to put away more.
Okay, I'll just paint a different paradigm, right? There are certain individuals these days that are not developing through puberty correctly. Do I think HRT, TRT could facilitate a completely different life path for them, completely change them as a person, completely change their neurochemistry for the better, and enlighten them out of the low testosterone state? Could they improve it naturally? Sure. Do a lot of guys come to me that tried everything to improve naturally? They're in great shape, great sleep and everything, and they are still hypogonadal. Testosterone night and day will change your life. Their physique being better will change your life. Your physique directly impacts the way other people perceive you. When I walk in a room, because I'm a 270-pound dude, people perceive me different than when I had my disease state walking in like a cancer patient at 210 pounds. I just observed the extreme fucking difference how people treat me with all this muscle versus no muscle, with all this frequency aura, without it at all, right? You can't not talk about that. You can't not talk about how, hey, that extra muscle might generate all this social media, which generates all this money, which I might just need this cash flow for a little bit, move this cash flow into something else. I'm in a completely different life path. A lot of kids are playing this game. Let's stop neglecting that. Yeah, people do care about that little bit of muscle. Yeah, we're in a satanic ranking system of social media that's based on vanity, and this payouts as far as the money, clout, fame, everything as far as setting you up later in life. These are risks that young kids are willing to take. So by saying that, I'm just going against that. You know, people do care. People really do. Online for superficial clout and fame money.
Way more work, which is why I respect people who stay natural for the rest of, like, for their whole lives. And it's a lot like harder and more discipline and willpower to stay as a natural than if you're enhanced trying to build muscle.
So, after talking with Jaws, John, and Clement, am I going to take the jump and start using steroids? No. For starters, my Filipino mom, who's also a doctor, she'd kill me. But I've also decided I would love to keep learning more about this topic. So I reached out to one of Jaws' clients who's just about to start taking steroids, and he's agreed to let me follow his journey for the next 90 days. And I want to see if I can personally coach a natural lifter to keep up with the progress of someone taking juice. Now we'll have more to share from this experiment in about 3 months, but in the meantime, if you want to discover the smartest way to build muscle as a natural, then give this video a watch next, where I interview 7 of the world's smartest muscle building experts. But for those of you who need more guidance and want a proven, easy to follow program that takes care of...
All right, what's my closing thoughts? All these noble natties, are they really bulls in the gym that are fucking squatting big weights for big volume? Again, I live in Pittsburgh. They're complete naturals when I was growing up that were big as shit without roids. They look nothing like him. No offense to him, but they were squatting all the time. They were benching all the time. They were deadlifting all the time. Their strength was insane. The volume was insane, and they bulked. They dieted down, maintained that strength, and that would be how you build a significant natural physique in my mind, because that'd be the way you activate all the skeletal AR the best and stimulate the central nervous system the best when you're not using exogenous androgens to hyperstimulate the central nervous system all the time. That's the thing I don't see in these noble natty things, because that's hard. Going into a squat rack as a natural, Andrew, and doing a small Russian squat program, and you're like, fuck, like today I gotta show up and hit these numbers. That's a whole different mindset that I see in the powerlifting world. Why do natural bodybuilders just do hypertrophy stuff and expect to get roid-like results when they should be training strength-based pretty much all the time with a little bit of accessories? But that's where I see the biggest natural slotting in. Now, I guess this video stayed up and is fine because he's not going to do steroids as him, the creator, but he's going to follow someone who does steroids and featured a bunch of steroid users. So I guess that's why he gets to post the vials on camera, post the UGL on camera, and all these other things, the bags of gear. But what is my takeaway is that the left ventricular hypertrophy is probably the biggest issue, and that everything can be tracked biohacking sense. And my final critique for Jeremy is, like, I don't know if he ever pulled his natural testosterone, but what is his natural testosterone? Is he peaked? Can he get his testicles to 900 natural testosterone? I personally know a lot of natural testosterone protocols. It doesn't look like he's icing his balls, Andrew. I'm gonna be honest. It doesn't look like he's icing his balls. It doesn't look like he's that fucking strong. And there are plenty of naturals that are stronger than me at 270 at his weight. And they can do that volume. And if they add a food onto that, they would continue progressing their natural physique for a long time. If you maintain the strength volume and never get injured, then after 12 years, if you progress the strength volume, you would look like you're on gear. And you see those lifetime naturals get accused all the time. And I watch them squat and I'm like, yeah, that guy's natural. I watch him deadlift, I see his volume. I'm like, yeah, that guy's natural. That would be the way you get the tissue. Why does no one talk about that? In powerlifting communities, it's talked about. But the whole thing with the noble natty is you should bulk, get crazy compound movement strength volume, and then cut for like 2 years in the slowest deficit of your life, maintaining the strength. That's how you would achieve steroid-like results without steroids. I will see you guys in my next video.